Hi folks, bright sunny day. It's actually the next day. We're getting some bad weather here the next couple of days, so I thought I would go out again and make another attempt. I actually think what happened yesterday when I looked at the route in a little more detail after recording was that I don't know if I did it or somehow when the Mapbox software was updated in various places, it sort of slightly changed the start point of my ride. But what I think happened is that I missed the start of the ride by, I would guess, under 100 feet. And I think it spent the entire ride trying to route me back, which would explain the roundabout rotary miscommunication, I guess, where it was sending me back where I came. So I think it spent the better part of the ride routing me back to a spot about 50 to 100 feet away that I missed. But anyways, this is a longer route today. The sun is out, the wind is not blowing. Again, we're going to get bad weather tomorrow, so I don't know why the GoPro won't come back on. Hopefully this is still recording for you guys. So I'm going to do a slightly longer route, which I just added to the device. It starts right here in my driveway, so hopefully this goes as according to plan. And we'll see if it, I think that started. It's a little confusing. This is not saying I have GPS, it's saying I'm in ride auto paused, telling me to continue. So I guess we're going to take off and see what happens. I may or may not record mid-ride depending on how things go, but we'll see what happens. Hi folks, I've got the brightness turned up a bit on the Karoo. Hopefully you can see this, although it's not terribly important right now. So I think I must have tempted fate with my comment on yesterday's video that I had rarely, if ever, had the ride app fail on me. Sorry, yanking off one of my gloves. So in the about 8 miles into today's route, I got a notification, a little pop-up saying the ride app had failed. But what's interesting is that it doesn't seem to have failed, and I don't believe this temperature reading at all. It is much nicer today, but I'm not sure it's 46 degrees. So what was happening is that I was riding along on this screen, and hopefully you can see this yellow line. This is where I think you would want it to be on a regular basis as you're riding, because then to the right is the route ahead of you. And in this, if you were to look at this compared, I'm stopped in exactly the same spot today, although it's a longer ride today, but it crosses over the same spot, so I stopped here on purpose. So I'd actually be interested, I may look at it myself and compare this elevation profile, which is generally downhill towards the water, with yesterday's. I can't remember what the altitude or the altitude, I guess, was. Elevation, I guess is more correct when you're on the ground. I think it was 17 yesterday, but that could be correct. And you can see also that this is what I didn't remember about, what I couldn't read, and I still can't really read it very well in the sunlight, is this is what it thinks. This is what the Karoo thinks the elevation is, and this is what the elevation profile says it's supposed to be. So you can see it's now off by about 19 feet. Yesterday I think it was off by about 15 feet, and this is a common theme, and I guess it's potentially common among barometric altimeters, is that this keeps drifting depending on the weather. And although we've got a storm coming in tomorrow, but it's probably still too far away to really be affecting the barometer all that much. Anyway, so I was on this screen when the ride app failed, but what's interesting is that it does seem to have picked up. You can see I'm 20 miles into this ride already, and yesterday I think when I was here I was probably at about 10 or 12. And everything else seems to have sort of picked back up again. So I'm curious to see what's happening, or what was happening in the background. I know it was rated about 29 or 30 minutes. So I think when I get back I'll be able to look at Golden Cheetah, or maybe even Strava will show it, although I think Strava tends to smooth it out a bit better. So I'm curious. You can see power and things are kind of bouncing around here a little bit. I'm not sure why, because I'm obviously stationary. But I believe that's average speed, that's current power. This is my elevation profile behind me, obviously, for the ride so far. And then, so turn-by-turn work today. This ride started from my driveway and will end in my driveway. And it's the first time I think that I have created a route from from a ride. So I did this ride, the same exact ride, two or three weekends ago, and decided to convert it into a route to see if the turn-by-turn was correct. And for the most part, the turn-by-turn has been fine, although for a short bit after the ride app crash, it did seem to be rerouting me, and I wasn't sure why. I should have tried to record while riding, but the roads today, I don't know if you can see, it didn't show very well in the little shot that I took at the beach, but there's still quite a bit of snow on the ground. And with the temperature near 40, it's sort of melting, and there's puddles in the road, and there's icy spots in the road. So I do have a fender on, so I'm not getting really wet, but I'm just being extra cautious of water and potentially what's under the water. So anyways, this has been a long discussion, but so for a while the turn-by-turn was off. I was on the route. I was physically, I could see myself on the red line, but it still was confused and was trying to reroute me, and I'm not sure where. Maybe it's possible during the brief outage when the app crashed, I missed a waypoint maybe, and it was trying to backtrack me to that waypoint, and then I crossed the next waypoint, although the ride was, again, the route was created from a ride, so I didn't set any waypoints. I just told it to create. So I don't know how it does that, whether it picks random waypoints or it picks individual turns. Anyways, so I think I probably have about an hour left, about 15 miles, I think. So maybe I'll check back when I get in my driveway. Otherwise, if nothing has happened, maybe I'll check back inside when I review the fit file. Hi folks, so a few days later, before I'm getting to finally stitch this video together, and this is the ride summary from the ride I did on Saturday. I actually also rode yesterday with the crew, although I rode on my cyclocross bike. My other bike's in for service. So I rode my cross bike. I didn't have cadence on. I forgot heart rate. I forgot my heart rate strap. Lots of various issues. So I rode what we call our beginner ride, or our social ride. I made an announcement quickly before I left the house, but no one else showed up, so it wasn't much of a social ride with me by myself, but that's okay. We'll say I was scouting out the route because our group rides are hopefully starting up soon. And I wanted to make sure there weren't any major potholes or issues with the ride. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, and you don't really care about that. So this is the ride summary from Saturday, where I did have the crash of the app. Although interestingly, it seems like everything's okay. I wasn't. Well, I did. I just compared it visually with what Strava thinks that I rode, and that has showed kind of variations before in distance, but it's actually very much the same. So I'm going to flip through this quickly. This is the period. Well, I still don't know how I've gotten these selections here, but what I did remember is that if I kind of do this in Golden Cheetah, it will sort of I guess kind of shrink or zoom in basically on the problem area. And I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in this 28 to 30-minute range. And it doesn't look like there was data loss here, which is interesting because the screen was definitely frozen. I did get the notification that the ride app had crashed. And these two pauses are me stopping on the side of the road to kind of try to figure out what to do. At one point I did hit my Garmin just to be, or my watch, basically to be, I guess in the hopes that I wouldn't lose an entire ride to data corruption. But I guess in the crew's defense, it did sort of recover here. I'll show. This was the longer pause when I actually stopped to talk to you guys on the side of the road, and that's the previous clip. I may or may not stitch in a few kind of shots of the area that I took while I was out, because it was a nice day. But I'm not sure, I haven't shown them before, so I'm not sure how interesting they'll be. Anyways, what I guess is interesting, at least a little bit, are the
is the data here. And this should be, like I said, it was about 8 miles, although there's a little bit of, or actually, no, I said it was 20, didn't I say it was 28 minutes? So there's some weirdness here. There looks like there's a whole minute that's sort of lost here. I think is that what I'm seeing? And it does show when you hover over it, it says invalid recording gap in Golden Cheetah here. So that's a little odd, although that could very well be when I was, did I say 30 minutes or did I say 20 minutes? Now I'm not sure myself, and this is what happens when I don't get to record um, basically right after coming into the house. But I did notice this one, which does seem weird, and that's a whole minute, and I'm pretty sure I wasn't stopped then. I thought that I noticed the real problem at about 28 or 29 minutes, and I think there's another one of those little red lines down here. I did look at this before I started to record, and I did look at this the other day, and then I lost track of it. And now for some reason I am not seeing, oh, here's those weird lines. So here's one that's a 24-second gap, and it does the same thing when you hover over it. Here's another one that's another 30, about 30 seconds, a little under 30 seconds. And the distance doesn't go up, which is odd, even though the power is still, according to this, the power is still on. So I'm not sure if this is a pause or an actual hole in the data. Anyway, I'm not really sure what to make of this. This is really the first significant, it's not even significant, I guess. The first real problem I've had in a while. I can't remember the ride app having ever crashed on me before. And so I guess it happened. It wasn't particularly cold. It was sunny. It wasn't wet. There was a little bit of road spray, but I have ridden much, much worse with the Karoo on the handlebars before and not had an issue. So I guess this is just a quick, although now I've been yapping here for another bit, but just kind of an update on back-to-back rides. I had kind of praised it and then said I hadn't really had any problems, and now I had a little problem. I think in general, things are probably trending in the right direction. I've had a couple people ask me if I would suggest people buy one of these things. I don't know how to answer that. Right now, with the $4 million influx of cash they got, assuming that's going to the software team and getting the software moving more quickly, then it might be a buy. I know there are some on eBay. If you look, I'm not sure where else they might be for sale. And I'm not sure buying from eBay really helps Hammerhead out at all. Probably doesn't, other than getting them a couple more users. So I don't know how to. At $300, I would say it's probably not a terrible buy. At $400, that's kind of a lot, and there's some computers in that range that might be better buys right now. If they get the software team kickstarted more quickly, and I really think that what they need to do is get the App Store open. They need to have at least a handful of, even if they're curated apps of some sort, that kind of can backfill some of the things that the device is lacking. And I also think they need to get phone notifications, at least some sort of pop-up notifications that you get to select. I would at least like to know if I'm getting texts on the road. I don't want to answer my phone, but it would be nice if I could see if someone was calling me, particularly now that I'm going to be out a little bit more often and for longer periods of time as we ramp up into summertime. It'd be nice, if my wife texts me and I don't answer, and then she calls me and I don't answer, that may be some sort of indication that I need to pause for a second, assuming that I'm in a ride that I can pause. I'm not in a group situation, or at least a pop-up saying, hey, with a quick summary of a text, I think that's really important, and it really should, the software is sort of at the same place it was. I mean, it may be more stable, but it's sort of at the same place it was a year ago. I think probably it's just about a year since I started making these videos. And, other than changes in fonts and I mean, there have been a lot of added data fields. Um, Stability is probably better. So, but that they really haven't. If you put if you put the the Karoo website into the Wayback Machine, I think it's Google's Wayback Machine at this point. I think they bought that. And you look at what they were promising, in the even the near to medium term, which I would think would be within a year. A lot of that stuff hasn't been delivered. Now they have since changed the website and it's kind of scaled back what they were supposed to be um, delivering, but that's a different problem. They promised one thing, they've delivered on some of it, but not a lot of it. And a lot of these things that people were really hoping for, people were clamoring for Strava Live segments. I could care less about that, but that's one of the things that people ask for. I think there's probably more interest in notifications and some sort of phone interactivity. Without a beeper, there's limited stuff that it can do in that regards as far as that. Turn by turn has been okay. The elevation profile that they just added is it does work. Whether that caused the ride crash for me, I don't know. There was some weird behavior where the yellow line that it was um, displaying was way too close to the right edge, and I wasn't getting enough preview of what was ahead of me. I was seeing mostly what was behind me, and I tried various buttons and pinch zooming, and none of that seemed to work. And then all of a sudden it seemed to correct itself, and the yellow line was on the left side of the screen, and I was getting mostly what was ahead of me. Um, then after the ride crash, I kind of avoided being on that screen because I didn't know if there was an issue with being on that screen all the time and having problems that way. So anyway, this has gotten longer and longer. I'm going to shut up now and let you come to your own conclusions. And I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not sure. Today's Tuesday, March 12th. I'm not sure what's happening with whether they're going to release this. I haven't been on the forums. I don't know if they're going to release this to the general public this Thursday. Um, I think from what I've seen, the reports have been good. So you're probably, the rest of you are probably going to see this. Or those of you, I shouldn't say it that way, those of you not in the ATG group are probably going to see this Thursday, and then it'll be another week before I get anything new or any indication of anything new that's coming. So if you've dragged yourself through this video, thanks for watching. See you next time.